Part 1. Question 1. Article 4. Whether sacred doctrine is a practical science. The distinction being made here is between practical and speculative. Practical, praxis, meaning changing your actions. Speculative means speculation, means thinking. The said contra is unusually long for this article. On the contrary, every practical science is concerned with human operations, as moral science is concerned with human acts, and architecture with building. So far, so good. If there were no houses, there would be no architecture. If there were no people, there would be no moral questions or houses. There would, however, still be theology. Quote, but sacred doctrine is chiefly concerned with God, whose handiwork is especially man. Therefore, it is not a practical but a speculative science. As an objection, Thomas turns to the Apostle James. Be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only. Faith without works, as we know, is dead. And clearly you are doing something, a lot of things, wrong if you learn about God, and that does not in any way change your moral life. Yes, but that is what theology does. Question here is about what theology is. Objection 2. Further, sacred doctrine is divided into the old law and the new law. Law implies a moral science, which is a practical science. Therefore, sacred doctrine is a practical science. And to review sacred doctrine, what we mean there is dealing with things as they can be known through divine revelation. Quote, hence, although among the philosophical sciences one is speculative and another practical, nevertheless, sacred doctrine includes both, as God by one and the same science knows both himself and his works. Again, you see the problem? We were focusing on man again, not God. Let's keep the focus. Thomas keeps the focus where it belongs. Quote, still, it is a speculative rather than a practical science because it is more concerned with divine things than with human acts, though it does treat even the latter inasmuch as man is ordained by them to the perfect knowledge of God, in which consists eternal bliss. You want to do things to, quote, get to heaven. Okay, but why? For what end? Let's focus on the end there. Bliss, the beatific vision, which is seeing and knowing immediately God. Quote, this is a sufficient answer to the objections. The practical arts are all for the sake of something else. You can tell who the best plumber is, who the best mechanic or the doctor or the lawyer is, based on results. At some point, however, we should pause and ask, what's it all for? You have a drain that works, good. A car that runs, knees that bend. You won your court case, great. Now what? Ideally, that should free us for contemplation of the true, the good, and the beautiful. And someone out there is thinking, but wait, we need to serve our neighbor in need. I totally agree, but for what end? You try to follow Jesus' command to love your neighbor as yourself, but what does that even mean? It means more than hoping your neighbor has working pipes and a working car. It means loving, and that means seeking the highest good for someone. What is that highest good? To enter into heaven. Is sacred doctrine a practical science? No.